Hello, welcome back. Today I'm going to do a video on what you might be able to do for homemade fire starters or fuel cooking tabs. Again, this is just a representation. It's not the be all and the end all, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of what items you might be able to use rather than just throwing them away. Now the starting point is a cardboard tube. This is from a kitchen towel. You could use the inner tube from toilet rolls or inner tube from Christmas wrapping paper or birthday wrapping paper. Sometimes comes wrapped around a cardboard centre. So basically anything that has a cardboard centre that you can use is ideal. For the most part, things like kitchen towel and whatnot have thinner cardboard tubes, but it doesn't really matter. The only difference is the thicker tube, a thicker inner tube just probably gives you a slightly better burn time, but that's about it. And the thing to do is basically cut them to the length you want. So I generally cut mine to around there. So that's what three fingers depth. But again, it's not it's not a hard and fast science. It's just what you think will suit you. Now this bit you don't have to do, you can just leave it open, but I just like to fold in the bottom slightly so that it stands up slightly better while you're filling it, and also it gives the filling something to grab hold of. So that's the basis for what you start with. Now what you need for the centre part is basically anything that's flammable. So it could be paper. This is just a bit of junk paper that came through with something. Now what I would tend to do with paper is I would tend to perhaps use it as a wick. So I would put it in folded like that. Oh, drop the thing, why don't you? So if I cut it roughly to length, so cut it around there. That should act nicely as a wick. Again, you don't have to do this. You can just sort of fill up the centre and light it, and it'll generally work, but I just try and make life easier for myself. So those are the first two items, and then you need a centre part. Well, in this case I'm going to use a bit of old tissue that I used for wiping down something. I forget what I wiped it down for, but you can see it's dirty. So now I can scrunch that up and put it in there easily enough. As you can see, it fits in there quite nicely. I don't pack it in too tightly, and you'll see why shortly. But the important part again is don't have to use tissue paper. You do want something that's fairly flammable, so you could use cotton wool, cotton pads, anything along those lines, so long as it will burn easily. And then the next part, what you want to do, let's put the wick in. So the final part for this little thing is candle wax. Now there's several ways you can add candle wax. You could get something like a pot, put water in the pot, and then put a container with the water, and then put bits of old candle in there, and put that on a heat source, and that will melt. The hot water will melt the wax in the second container, part of the container, and then you can just pour it out like that. That's probably about the safest way to do it, but because I'm just giving you an example today, you can also just light a candle, she says. It's not, come on, light. Okay, just let that burn for a minute. So what you want to do is you just want to let the melted wax drip onto the tissue or cotton wool, whatever you're using as a central, and you want to get that as saturated with wax as you can. Again, I'm not going to do it fully, this is just a representation. The quickest way really is to do that water bath method, where you melt, candle stubs, or if you're lucky enough to find half-burnt candles on somewhere like Facebook Marketplace or at a charity shop, you could pick those up for free or practically nothing, and use those instead. And as you can see, I'm doing this on top of some paper. The reason I'm doing that is because any drips that happen, I can then use that paper as a wick or as part of the central candle itself. Now, it doesn't take long to dry. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I think you've got the idea. So that gives you the idea of how you can make cheap fire starters for virtually nothing out of waste materials. I say virtually nothing because obviously you've purchased the original item to start with, but there we have it. It's almost, like I said, it's negligible cost, because chances are you'd be throwing these sorts of things away. What you can also do is, if you want, you can also turn it upside down and drip candle wax in this side from this side as well. The only thing I would say about using something like this is that it does produce a lot of smoke. So any pot that you might use, you're going to find they're going to get very sooty across the bottom and the sides. That's not unexpected. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, you think about how much a candle smoke, just an ordinary candle, can sometimes produce. This is just an example of, I'm not going to put it in totally, but you could put it in something like this. This is not completely used up, but once it's used up, I could put it inside that, there, put that on top, and there we have a relatively safe way of cooking or heating water. The other downside to this is the same with any of these types of cookers. It's sometimes very difficult to control the temperature that the flame is burning at, so a way to get around that is to lower or raise the pot you're using. If you've got a tripod, that would, you could hang it off a tripod, perhaps, of some kind, as long as it's a metal tripod. So there we go. That's it. I hope that's given you the rough idea of how you can make these. Like I said, it's not the be all and the end all. There are different ways of doing it, but that's the basic idea. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing, giving it a thumbs up, sharing it, writing a comment, all much appreciated. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks very much. Bye for now.